Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So this story is very interesting. At least I think it's interesting. I want to talk about the politics of it. This is Talking Points memo. White House says Trump won't fire Mueller as Bannon pushes Trump to defund the probe. This is fascinating. This is interesting politics. The reason I say it's interesting politics is, so I agree with Bannon on the first time around, meaning what they were using to essentially whip up this probe and everything else was somewhat bogus. This idea of Trump colluding with Russia and all this other stuff, they haven't necessarily shown any evidence to kind of get that across. They've shown evidence, but the evidence was, it was like we have a, they're trying to make this point that it was hacked, not leaked and all this other stuff. There's evidence challenging the narrative that it was hacked. That's my point. But nevertheless, the investigation has taken place. Now, beforehand, the investigation was going to be starring Comey. Trump fired Comey. Now the investigation is starring Mueller. And Mueller has been given wide berth to look into all sorts of stuff related to the Russian thing, or Russian interaction with the election. Now, Bannon in this case is saying they should fire Mueller. Firing Comey was a horrible idea. And Bannon even made this point that firing Comey was a horrible idea. You're the president of the United States. Now, Democrats are attacking you over interactions between Trump and Russia. This started from a political standpoint because Donald Trump said he was going to be conciliatory towards Russia. He wasn't batshit crazy foaming at the mouth about Vladimir Putin. And some of the things that they asked him in an interview, he was honest about, which is mind-blowing. They said something about Putin, and Trump was like, "You think we're all that nice?" That's honest. That's honest. You can barely get Bernie Sanders to even say something like that. That's an honest position. Now, whether or not that was motivated by business reasons or whatever else, I don't care. It's an honest answer. Hillary Clinton loses the election to Donald Trump. Gets the stuffing beat out of her. She sulks for a few days. She sulks. She sulks. She doesn't want to talk to anybody. She's angry and annoyed. People are calling her. "Oh, I'm sorry you lost the reality show." "So I'm sorry you lost the reality show. It must burns that you lost the reality shows. It must suck that you lost the reality shows." Are you running again? "I'm sorry you lost reality shows, by the way." You can imagine that will get aggravating. That will get annoying. You had $1 billion. You had over $1 billion. And you took that $1 billion, and for all intents and purposes, you could have just burned it on the White House lawn. You lost to reality shows. A guy that started his campaign off saying Mexicans were rapists and drug dealers. That's the guy you lost to. They found a video talking about Donald Trump saying, "Grab him by the pussy." You lost that guy, the grab him by the pussy guy. Now, aside from the burn from losing to just kind of racist and sexist, they sulk. And Hillary Clinton comes out of her room and after a day or so and says, "I know. It wasn't me that lost the election. I didn't let these people down. It was Comey and it was Russia. It was Comey and Russia." Now, as my well-paid communications team, I need you to get out there and scream Russia at the top of your lungs, because I need those people to know that I, Hillary Clinton, didn't let them down, and I, Hillary Clinton, didn't lose this election under normal circumstances. It was Russia. Russia did it. It was all Russia. Russia did it all. You need to get them out there and make them know it. The news jumps on this and says, "Hey, the Democrats are saying it has something to do with Russia. This sounds like a decent story. The president of the United States now, Donald Trump, has a scandal. Oh, we lost scandals." Puts asses in seats. So we're going to go with this angle of Russia. Hey, you know that, the veteran intelligence professionals said that this was somewhat bogus, right? Shut that up. Shut that up. We don't want to hear about that. We don't want to hear about your investigations. We don't want to hear about your evidence. We don't want to hear about actual data, actual experiments, and to make it a determination on whether this stuff was a leak or a hack. We don't want to know that. That's not sexy. That doesn't put asses in seats in as much as a president colluding with a foreign government to undermine America. That's an interesting story. Your reality has been monetized. That's what this boils down to. It's a catchy story. All of this has boiled down to whether it's monetization of the story from a news media standpoint, or the Democrats who just don't want to have a conversation on why they lost the election. That's where this comes from. This is politics. I mean, even these things where they're bringing out Facebook, Twitter, and Google, this stuff is just politics. It's bogus. It's bogus. Now, that being said, Mueller is going into this investigation with a very different tenor, or at the very least it feels very different than what Comey was doing. Meaning Mueller has been given this latitude to go after whoever he wants to go after. And the first thing you think of is like, well, wait a minute. Is Mueller working to some ends? I mean, this is Washington after all. Does Mueller have a dog in this hunt? I mean, everyone wants to always act like the FBI and all these guys who are in this is, they're just business. They're, you know, they're head down and they're just functionaries and they just do their job and they don't care about the politics. The politics surrounds them and they're in a silo and they don't care about any of this stuff. They're just these iron jaw FBI agents. Yeah, that may be true. That may not be true. Now, what I mean by that is, by firing Comey, Donald Trump put somebody who was on his ass that could potentially take his head. Now, whether or not Trump colluded with Russia at this point is somewhat irrelevant. Donald Trump needs to be working from the standpoint of, these guys are going for my head. I need to protect my head. How am I going to protect my head? You know, the first step to protecting your head, not firing Comey. But now you're in the second step, Mueller. The question becomes, what do you do about Mueller? That's a problem. What do you do about Mueller? Not just what do you do about Mueller, your entire presidency, for the most part, is going to be held up, and all the air is going to be sucked out of the room because of this particular investigation. And now that he's actually, you know, handed down indictments or whatever, now you have people at the bit of, hey, maybe Donald Trump did have something to do with Russia. Maybe Donald Trump did have something to do with Russia. The context. It's not necessarily going to filter down to the people who are looking at the story. You have a lot of people who hurt your guts who want to believe that you have something to do with Russia. That's one problem by itself. This is a problem. This is a problem. I know HA was like, yeah, you should fire Comey. I disagree with HA on this. And in fact, like I said, I would debate HA on this one, and HA would lose. It has nothing to do with Hillary Clinton. It has nothing to do with whether or not Comey had, you know, there was just cause to fire Comey. Mueller is out for blood. Mueller is out for blood. Mueller is looking to take somebody's head. And I would wager this is why Bannon is saying fire Mueller. Defund that probe. Because he understands that this investigation is different. This is not Comey. The latitude that they gave him, you understand that he can even go into Trump's business records to see if there's some connection between Trump and Russia that may have influenced anything in the election itself, whether or not it had anything to do with the election at all. I'm trying to make this point that Mueller has this wide latitude to go after these people. It took months in prior cases for special prosecutors to go after people, whether you want to talk about Bill Clinton or Richard Nixon. It took months. These guys are just the first. There will be more. There will be more. Let me read the story. I'm just making this point from a political standpoint. This is immensely dangerous. This is not, they're going for his head. Hillary Clinton is reaching from the grave in order to go after Donald Trump after she lost that election. This is politics. Unfortunately, Trump made several mistakes within the political framework. Now, again, whether or not he had justification to fire Comey doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Politics is not about reality, believe it or not. Just like laws or being in a courtroom is not necessarily about whether you're innocent or guilty. What can you prove? What can you show? How can you deflect? How can you defend? How can you shape reality? In this particular case, they were able to shape reality enough to get a special prosecutor to be going after Donald Trump's head. Donald Trump played into it by firing Comey. Now you're in this situation of, okay, they've indicted people who are close to me. At the very least, this looks bad from a political standpoint. No, they haven't come up with a link between Russia and Comey yet. But understand, I mean, Russia and Trump yet. Understand. And I need to make this very clear. Whether or not they can actually establish a link is less relevant than whether or not they can make it appear as if there's a link. There's a difference in those things. This has nothing to do with reality. That's my point. It's politics. White House says Trump won't fire Mueller as Bannon pushes to defund probe. I want to read part of this. If Bannon has gotten to the point where he's saying defund the probe, then Bannon understands that, oh my God, they're going for his head. This is serious. After news broke that 3 former members of President Donald Trump's campaign have been indicted on the probe by special counsel Robert Mueller, questions about whether President Trump plans to fire an investigator have gained new traction, especially following reports that Trump was fuming about Monday's news. He can't touch Mueller. Can't touch him. If Bannon has gotten to the... I'm not going to repeat it. All I'm saying is, if Bannon has gotten to the point where he's like, oh my God, fire his ass, get his ass out of there, then Bannon is willing to deal. Bannon is looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, there will be political consequences for firing Mueller. At the same token, Mueller is going for Donald Trump's head. Deal with the political consequences. Get rid of his ass. Oh man, I love the politics. The politics are fascinating. I love it. I love it. This is chess. What are you willing to take on in order to deal with a threat that you think is more substantial? Oh, it's fucking amazing. The White House maintains that Trump has no intention of firing Mueller, but the president's former chief strategist, Bannon, is reportedly whispering alternative methods for kneecapping the investigation in Trump's ear, according to reports from CNN, The Daily Beast, and Politico. On Monday, Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, and Manafort's business associate turned themselves into federal authorities after the pair was charged with 12 counts related to money laundering and alleged crimes. Court documents also released Monday showed that Trump's campaign foreign policy advisor, George Papadopoulos, lied to federal... I don't know why, but Papandreou, that's so fucking weird. Papadopoulos lied to federal agents about his contacts with a professor whom he knew had substantial links to the Russian government. Substantial links, I don't know what that means. Another member of the campaign encouraged Papadopoulos to travel to Russia to meet with officials if it's feasible, according to an exchange revealed in court documents. A source close to Bannon told CNN that former Trump aide is pushing the White House to take down Mueller on multiple fronts. Bannon wants Republicans to get Congress to cut funding to the special counsel, and he wants the White House to publicly debate Mueller's mandate, slowing the production of documents, and to go into a public relations campaign against the probe, according to CNN. The Daily Beast and Politico reported similar information from sources close to Bannon. The Daily Beast reported that Bannon thinks the approaches will look better than Trump firing the person who was investigating the Russian interference into the 2016 election and any potential collusion with the Russian Trump campaign. God damn it, Bannon. Bannon's political acumen is usually on point. The man is a white supremacist, fair enough. He's a racist, fair enough. All those things are true, but God damn it, his political acumen, I goddamn agree with. Like, if it was me, I would be screaming the same thing. You need to kneecap this investigation. Find whatever means you need to stop or kneecap this investigation. You can't touch Mueller. You can't fire him. Doesn't mean you can't find other ways to try to slow this thing, grind this thing down, have this conversation with the public about whether or not this thing is viable. Change the conversation to Hillary Clinton and the Uranium One deal and them selling 20% of uranium stores. I would... Bannon is right. Bannon is right. You can't fire him. You can't touch him. That looks horrible. The public is not necessarily going to understand all the ways that you can undermine the investigation, though. And look, I'm not saying this because I like Trump. I can't stand his ass. I'm not talking about purely from a political standpoint. Just because... Let me be clear on this point. Just because I may say things that may be against Democrats or for Republicans or whatever the configuration is, it's specific and contextual. All things being equal, Republicans are fucking horrible. Donald Trump included. I think Democrats are also fucking horrible. I'm talking purely about the politics of what's taking place and how this plays out with regards to how somebody either stays in power or out of power. This has everything to do with power. This has nothing to do with whether these are good people or not. I'm making this point that Bannon is right. They've just put down charges. Now, in putting down charges, this is to some degree making a statement. We're serious. We're going to go after people who have a wide mandate, and we're going to go fulfill the fuck out that mandate. Which means that alarm bells should be going off in the White House. If alarm bells are not going off in the White House, there are problems. You should be screaming, red alert, whatever you want to call it. They should be screaming at the top of their lungs, we need to do something about this investigation. A, it looks immensely bad to have an investigation going on the president of the United States. B, you need to kneecap him and slow him down. Slow it down, grind it to a halt. Do whatever you need to do to kind of undermine the legitimacy of the investigation itself. And that's going to be hard because Donald Trump is fucking gross. And like I said, you have a large number of people in the public that want to believe the things that are coming out because they want him out of that office. Now, as Donald Trump, you need to manage that. You need to deal with that. You need to deal with that. Bannon is right. Again. Bannon is right again. I hate doing it. You have no idea, man. I hate doing things where I'm like, Bannon is right. But oftentimes, when Bannon is talking about managing image and everything else, don't get me wrong, Breitbart News is fucking ridiculous. And I in no way consider Breitbart News a real publication in regards to news. So don't get me wrong, his what he's known or his claim to fame, yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. But from a political standpoint, when the things that Bannon has recommended and whispered in Trump's ear have usually turned out to be correct. Getting rid of Bannon was the worst thing in the world that he could have done. And this idea that Bannon is fighting the globalists and everything else. Now, there is one catch with this, and I ended on this. Bannon and Trump has stirred up a lot of trouble with the other Republicans. Meaning many of those Republicans can't stand either one of them. Can't stand them. They don't consider Trump one of them. They can't stand him. All things being equal, they would prefer him to be out that office, meaning they would prefer Pence in that slot. If an opportunity comes up for them to stick a shiv in him, they're going to stick a shiv in him. Meaning, if Mueller finds anything in this, you do not have the protection of the other Republicans. Just know that. Nor are these other Republicans going to take those extra steps in order to defund it in the way that Bannon wants. I don't see it. They don't like Trump. The only impetus, the only incentive they may have it is because they don't want a Republican being taken down in this particular way. But I am inclined to believe that they would prefer to have Pence in that slot and be okay with Trump failing. If they believe that there's enough support for them in their districts of people who don't like Trump. If they believe that there's enough Trump supporters, then probably not, because they're going to lose that election if they have to go and make that case of the reason why they allowed their president to be taken down. It just depends on the support that Trump can harness in the public itself, to some degree. I mean, I could be wrong. There are a lot of Republicans that don't like Donald Trump, and Bannon has been talking about going to war with one of these guys after another, calling them globalists and elitists and all this other stuff. So I don't know how much support he's going to get. It just depends on it depends on the incentive. So this is almost like an equation. This is not a flat value. Whether or not those people think they can get elected in their particular district after not defending Trump. That's going to be the question. Or whether they think they can get elected in a district for defending Trump. This is going to boil down to, can I get elected based upon whether or not, or based on the popularity of Donald Trump in my particular district? Yeah, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. I agree with Bannon on this. Kneecap him. That's all you can do. Kneecap him. Slow him down. Try to find ways to undermine that particular investigation. Try to find ways to delegitimize the investigation. Hell, run your own parallel investigation. You're in the White House. Obama was able to run a hit job on journalists, on investigative journalists. Do the same goddamn thing. And I'm not saying have a hit job on journalists. I'm saying having your own investigation into all of these other shady dealings of Democrats and going after those Democrats. If you're looking to throw chum in the water and looking to obfuscate and create chaos and everything else, sack a piece. And I'm saying sack a piece from the standpoint of create your own drama, create your own chum, not necessarily with you, but with the information that's been revealed for Hillary Clinton. Go after her. Go after her. Go after the thing that took place in New York, the throwing people off the roads. Federal and state law, they broke both. You're the president of the United States. Do you represent the people of New York or not? Find other things to occupy the time and to pull attention away from it. And I hate this level of politics because at this point it's just one throwing chum at the other. It's like, how can you beat the people over the head in order to try to create this certain amount of chaos? At this point, you're just in raw politics. If you don't do anything, if you stand there, they're going to eat you alive. And this investigation is going to eat you alive if you don't do anything about it. Kills me to say it. Bannon is right. Bannon is right. Firing Comey was the worst thing that Donald Trump could have done. I swear, man. And it's not that I like Trump. I don't want him impeached. I think I don't want, of all the wicked and disgusting things that has taken place in regards to the presidency, and I think it would rip this country apart to have Donald Trump impeached in this way, because they don't have legitimacy for the impeachment. It's not something where the American public is looking at and thinking to themselves, this is exactly what they should be spending their time on, and taking down the president in this way is exactly what we want. 30-40% of the population completely disagrees with you. The progressive millions disagrees with you, meaning the right and the far left completely disagrees with what's taking place. You don't have a majority of the country that thinks that what you're doing is okay. If they come up with charges to take him down, they are going to rip this country apart. There's going to be all sorts of bad shit. Like, there's going to be all sorts of shit that pop off if that takes place. That's what I think. Now, if they find some substantial, fair enough. Yeah, if they find some substantial, fair enough. But I would like to just kind of put the view for a moment on what the original premise of this was. Russia colluded with Trump to hack the DNC elections. And they've so far moved away from that into all of this other stuff. But that was the original premise of all of this. Democrats, Hillary Clinton howled, Democrats howled, the media jumped on it, and they were able to get a special prosecutor. Or they were able to get a prosecutor. Comey. After Trump fired Comey, you have Mueller. And Mueller seems to be taking his job extraordinarily seriously, at least from the perspective of trying to go after people. It just seems different. That's all. I'll leave it at that. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks guys.